So in order to use, so whenever you have a new Angular project, what you need to do is to add firstly exactly the library for Angular material. So you have the ng add, as well as you can see here inside your SRC, you will also have the part with material.module.ts. So no matter the material.io component, you will have it included. So you exactly take it, as you can see, from Angular material, and you have the structure for it, the CSS associated one by one for all the components, which in fact exist over here. Okay, these are your components that you can add. And for each one of them, inside examples, here you have the code, HTML, TypeScript, CSS, as well as the part with the stack blitz. All right, going back to this one, you've seen it that instead of running the app route, you have this autocomplete. And this autocomplete is in fact linked with a component, which is this one, autocomplete. From here, with the name autocomplete, and associated to it, you've got the HTML file and the CSS. So I have my form, which is this one, which means that firstly, inside the HTML, you have this form, and for my form, I will have the number. So this is for material label, as you can see. All right. After which you will have your input, and your input is in fact linked to a similar controller. So you have a placeholder. The placeholder is the one exactly which appears here before typing anything, and it is also with the area with this number, as you can see. And then you've also got the autocomplete. So like I have one, it will simply display it exactly which one would be out of the options. So whether it doesn't exist, then nothing will drop down. Also for the autocomplete, it's what you get here, such that what you have will be in fact to go through all the options that you have from the filtered options existing inside the TypeScript, okay, here, as well as this is done in an asynchronous manner. Okay, and in the end, you have the option. And the option is the one that will be placed here. So if I have a 2, this one is the option which will be filled inside my autocomplete. Such that I have first of all, I have the form control. Then I have all the options that I want in my dropdown. Also, I will have the ones for filtered. So according to what I type, it will be called. Well, based on the observable and the string which was entered. And here, when you have the on init, you have whether you do have value changes, so value changes here in the pipe, as well as you will have to do the filtering. So you have again a function, a key value pair. So based on the value that you provide, let's say if I have here my T and so on, it will do the filtering. So it will simply provide you which is your array for this value. Such that for filter, you see that you take it based on lowercase. So as you can see, you have the value in lowercase and you do the filtering based on which you want to see whether or not it is included. So it will retrieve you exactly the options over here. And with the CSS, so you can add your own CSS exactly for the minimum width, maximum width. It depends exactly for this space. All right. And also to run it, you have the ng serve command as before. Or what you can also do, so you have this website where if you go to the last option, it will open for you exactly Stack Blitz, and you can run it in real time and visualize it. So this is just for the purpose of testing it, but after that you need to include it. As before in this example where you've got multiple components. Okay, so it will load. Okay, and you will be able to see exactly as before, as you've seen for the local host project. Should appear filed. Okay, and now you have the options. What you can also do, so in a similar manner, you can have badges. So like these ones, whether you do have any notification like here. And it means that you can also run some tests. So as for the part with unit testing, which will come soon, what you define, in fact, are the specs. So the specs, this is when you also have Jasmine to test your service. And for each one of them, you have like in unit testing, before each one of your components, you have the import for your module, your declaration, as well as you will create your component and then you load it. This is how it appears. Okay, karma for being available inside a browser. So like here, this is according to this service. In order to start your service, you have the ng test command, and then it will simply display according to everything that you check. So whether you should load all the badges. So in fact, you have the badges and you want to have the loader for it. Okay. And you will have to do the get for it. Then you will have the expect. So it's exactly like in Java. You will want to see whether it equals something. So you want it to have the length to be of 3 because what it has here, so it will simply want to check according to your definition. Okay, the definition that exists inside the component. All right. Then you can also have to get the text. So you can have the selector, whether it's with simple, and again, you want it to be according to a value. It is like this one with the simple content. And you, again, you expect it to be equal to something. So as you can see, you do the get according to the loader. After you have the loader, you just expect it or to be a value, so whether it's a string, whether it's numeric, you can also have it of type Boolean. Okay, so it's again, you just have the loader, and for it, you expect the value to be or true or false, as well as you can check whether a property is disabled. So you do it in the same manner, but we will return to this part. So this is just for your testing. While exiting this one. So if you go over here, you have exactly the simulation for what you saw in the interface. So exactly this. This one you can take it or based on the code. So as I did over here, you will have a component. Based on the component selector, this is the one that you include inside the index or inside the app page. So as you had for this problem, it was like here. You have a div and then you can call another component. This is how you can link them. And now let's see for this one with the badges. So this is how it will appear exactly for each one of them based on your HTML code that appears over here. So in fact, inside index, what I do is to take exactly the badge overview example that is linked to TS. And this one has associated an HTML. And as you can see, you have this one with hidden availability. So this is how the service was testing it, whether it's visible or not. And now you have them one by one. So you will have a test with a badge. So this would be with a badge of 4. This is why you have this 4 value above. And whether it overlaps or not, so it will not overlap. Then you can also have a one which has a large dimension. So this is why it covers it. Then you can have it as a button. So as you saw it in the part with the widgets of materials, you have this raised button, which before it was, so if you, this is with Angular.js, as you've seen, you are having the buttons and like this one with MD raised. Now this is the one with materials, so you have mat raised button. Okay. Oh. And over here it will be the primary one. So as before, it is the one in blue. Then you will have the badge, and you should say where you have it positioned. So if you have it positioned to the left, it means that you have it positioned before, as well as you have this accent. So it's again, it's like for this one when you were having it colored in pink with the accent. Okay, as you can see, MD accent. So it is very similar to it. Okay, then you can have it in this way. Okay, with the hide button. So it's again the raised one because you have it all around. You also have mat badge of 7, so this is why you have this value, as well as you can associate an event with it, so based on click. Okay. And what you can do is when you click it, you have it, the visibility that changes. So this is why you have the badge to be hidden. So according to the method, you can have it disappear. Then you may also have this warning. So in this case, you have a mat icon, which will be in fact a house. Okay, so you have it placed between here, and it is named home. Over it, you also have a mat badge. So as you can see, you associate the badge to a certain icon, and this will have 15, as well as you will have the color exactly for the badge. So the warning will be in red, and this is why you have the background of your badge in this color. Then you also have the part with the example. So here you have it visually hidden, as you can see. All right, so this is what you have here. And all the text, as you can see, this one, it is in fact from index.html. Okay. And don't forget that even over here, you have all the components that you need to add inside the app module. The forms, materials. Okay, so these are the ones that you should add. Right. And for all the other examples, okay, they are also displayed in the same manner. So it's better just to go at examples because you already have a notion. So this is similar to what you've seen before with the mini fabs, what I did explain before. And you have them in this way and you can edit them. So or online or as I did in the project. And going through cards, checkboxes, the divider as you've seen before with a date picker, and you have them one by one. Okay. So according to what you need for your project, you just have the menu and how you can add them. And it's very similar to what you've seen even before. So they are just components, you call them, or inside a specific HTML, whether you do have the routing, like here, to go between pages, or if not, you would declare like over here in app component, you have several, the route outlet, you have another component for app messages. So for each and every component of Angular material, you can add them one by one. And inside an HTML page, you just call exactly based on the selector that is associated. So this one, this is how you call it. And by referencing it inside an HTML page, it will know exactly what to call. So which component. And you will have exactly everything associated. So that's it for the material part, because you simply pick up the one that you need. Okay, and continue with the directives, as well as the part with unit testing, which you've seen. And after that, you will have a small exercise. So let's see. All these directives, so they are in fact when you've got components with certain attributes. So here you can use or the stack blitz or the one, so you can also use the browser, I mean your local project, such that you can create it step by step. Okay, so let's see it over here. Let's open it to see exactly, not this one. Let it remain like this. Okay. And let's go here. I will close this one, not run the background. Okay. So to see what I want to do, in fact, and what to obtain, this is when in the background you can also have some highlights. So for example, you will create a directive with ng generate, directive called highlight, and inside it you will have to import directive from Angular core. Be found. Okay, let's see. This is the one. Let's see. So just to visualize exactly what I want to obtain, we have a big picture. So this is basically for the appearance, whether you want some behavior for it. Okay, like here. To highlight it, maybe you want some behavior. I click on yellow, I want it to become yellow. So it is responsive. Then you can also have events, like whether you have the mouse over, and then you have some highlights, as well as so you can have some evaluation inside, or maybe you don't want it to be binded, as well as whether it's not binded, maybe you also want to add a directive. So like here to have a certain appearance for DOM. Okay, so it means that I have my highlight. Okay, my highlight will be placed over here. So as you can see, you will have a directive. You take it from Angular core. And this one being a TypeScript, you will have a selector for it. So it is known as being an app highlight. Okay, such that. For it, you will also have the constructor. So first of all, the constructor, it can be empty, or by default, you can say that you can have a background color, which is provided, as well as you have this metadata. So here you have an input, and you say that by default, I don't have no default color, as well as you see here that you have an input of application highlight according to the one like here, which I select, and it will be simply updated. So over here, you see that when you have the mouse over, it will have the highlight of the current color, or you can have the default one or red. So let's refresh the project, not to exist anymore. And the red color should appear because it wasn't initialized. Let's see. Okay, come on. Okay, so here it is not initialized. So this one will be red. And you see that you have here a color which is pink. So this one is already linked to a certain color. But why is this color in this way? Well, you have the part where by default with this highlight me too. So it will use by default, whether it wasn't selected, it will use by default the color which is violet. While here with the highlight me, it uses the color which is associated with app highlight. So it looks over here, which would be it. It doesn't exist, so it is undefined, in fact, and it will be red, while for the other, I set it to be by default violet. Okay, but if I go and I click one of them, the color will be identical for each one of them because it isn't the one by default. So not by default, not the one that I associate over here. So whether it doesn't exist, so this is like in case it is undefined, then it's red. Now here it is defined, and in this way, it will remain to be cyan. So in fact, here you have an H1 component. Then you will have the part with pink color, where you have some radio buttons. So for these radio buttons, in fact, you will have an event to do this click of color. So in fact, what do you set is your color to be of a certain RGB. So whether it's a light green, whether it's yellow, whether it's cyan. So in fact here, you just override it and you will have exactly which one would be your current color. So as you can see, you just maintain it. Okay. As well as you have these, the mouse events. So whether you do have the mouse events, then you highlight according to the selected color, as well as when you leave. So here I don't have the mouse pointing it. I have this host listener, as you can see. Okay, and the host listener is taken also from Angular core. So based on the host listener, whether I have an event of mouse leave, so this is similar to what you have in Java with Swing. Okay, this will set your highlight to be empty, so no value. Also, when you have a certain color from here that you select, in fact, the highlight function will be called and it will be set according to the color that was selected. So based on here, as you can see, color equals, right? Such that you will have this P. P is part of your directive. So this is why you have it placed in this way, where you highlight according to the color that was previously selected, as well as the second one. So you have the color which was selected, or you use the default one. So as you did see at the beginning of the app. And then what you can also do is to have this mouse over. So when you have the mouse over, as you can see, you have this app highlight, and you will have it with yellow, with orange over them. And again, because I have it, so I have a directive for my element P inside DOM, it will also obey all this host listener. Host listener, whether it enter, whether it left, according to the color that you did associate. So here I have this color associated to yellow and to orange. What I can also do is to evaluate, let's say, some expression. If I want to evaluate some hard-coded expression, I can put it in this way. Or maybe I want to take it from a model. Then what I can have is this non-bindable. So maybe I don't want it to be evaluated. And this means that I have this ng non-bindable. So the Angular part. Also, what I can do is not to bind it, but maybe I want to link it to a certain directive. So I can link it to the directive of app highlight, and I want it to be yellow. And in this case, so it won't be binded, I won't have this expression evaluated, but still I have my directive called. Okay, so according to what I have over here. And this is the one. Okay. So this is just to see how the highlight works. And this is not just on those events which you had before, so with that on change and so on. You also have the part with mouse enter, mouse leave. So whether it didn't click on it or whether a value wasn't changed. So all these directives are to interact with your DOM. Okay, and this is exactly what you've seen, step by step. And just explaining what I did do in real time. Okay, with a non-bindable, and you see that. Okay, so this would be the part with a bindable and directives, as well as, let's see, inside dashboard for your unit testing. Should be the one. Yeah, this is the one. So for this unit testing is when you've got several components and you want to test them so that you have Karma and Jasmine that you can use in order to see whether or not they work correctly. So if you include them already in the interface, this is like a manual testing. But maybe you have some components that get updated and you don't want to have some unwanted behavior. So this is when you need to use your unit testing. So this is when you have some parts of your app and they are independent of other units, as well as you see them independent also of your file system, of your database, as well as your HTTP service. So it is not related to it, because an HTTP service, you just see whether or not you can call it, whether it's available, and then you just import. So this is just for your components to see whether or not they function correctly. And in this way, you would have a sort of regression. So like here you have test by test, one after one with the specs file. So it will appear like here. Based on the component which was tested, you have one by one what was tested, all these tests. And whether it didn't fail, you have these 0 failures, as well as you know which component was tested. So you have the app component, you have the part with the parent component, okay, and you've got exactly here the test. So let's see exactly how you start doing it. So in fact, for each and every component, you saw that when you create it, you have the specs file. So this is for your unit testing. Then when you want to test exactly your components, you have the command with ng test, so that it will appear in this way. And this is how it appears. Then you have the part with your karma. So this one with the karma is in fact your configuration, which is based on Jasmine, as you can see. So in fact, for this one, you need to specify exactly which is your base path, according to which you want to check everything. Then you will have the path with Jasmine. This is in fact your testing framework. You also have your plugins, as well as you need to say through which browser do you want to use it. As well as you also have the part with the port where the testing service will run. Okay, so this is how you do exactly the testing, knowing that you have Jasmine as a framework to analyze it step by step. Then, in fact, inside Jasmine, you have the part when you can have the describe, like this, okay, like here. You will have the part with the describe according to a string and a function. So you will have a certain title and you have the function with your specification. You also have the it. So you take a function, also the title, and you have the expectations. You can expect a certain actual value, like here. Okay, expect of app title to be equal to something. Okay, as well as you can have the matching, whether it's equal, whether it contains, like here, to equal, to contain, as it was even before with the testing for your badges. Okay, if I go here to examples and I go to this part. At testing, it was also checking whether it is false. Okay, so it will be here. So which is the length to be equal to something, be a number, be an S. Okay, so you can check one by one whether it is equal to a certain value, whether it's Boolean, whether it's a string, a number. Okay, so inside app component TS, right, delete the one from here. I will also close. Let's see. So over here you have the part with the TypeScript, which you should have. So you initialize all the components and you compile them, whether they were simply done successfully. So this is when you have your new component. Then you will have to create your app, such that based on your test bed, you have to create a component, which is in fact the app component, okay, the main one, based on TS. So this is the app component that I want to receive. Okay. So according to it, you've got the app. You have the instance of the app. And in order to check whether it was loaded successfully, you have this expect of app according to your testbed for create component, whether it is trusty. Also, you can have a create component, and based on it, you can check the title. So whether the title is equal to a certain value. So like here, I have a title for my component, and I want to see whether or not it is this one. So if I put something like this, it will have a failure, and it will say that it expected this one with 2 to be in fact welcome to the no snip option test. So it says exactly like you did in Java, if you used unit testing. This is how it says. It expects exactly a certain value. And if everything is all right, it will display it in this way, saying which test was done at the level of a certain component. And coming back, so you have the title checked, as well as you can, so based on the component, the app component, you can see the changes, and also you can have the H1. So this is why you had two errors, because of the case when I changed here the value of title. One error was caused by the title, which had to be equal, while in my element H1, okay, so it's exactly what appears here, welcome to. So it queries the component with H1. And inside H1, by taking exactly the text content, so this one with welcome, it will want to check whether it contains something like welcome to. What I can do is to delete this one, so I can have a welcome to. I can go inside my component. Okay, so if I put it here at 2, okay, you will have just one test which will fail, because this one will fail first thing, because it expected exactly the value to be with 2 at the end. But here it just wants the H1 reference, this welcome to contain the welcome to. So this one will pass, even if it contains also the part with the updated title. I will update it. Now you have 2 errors, and they are caused because of these 2 in title. So you simply load a component, and then you will also have to check it inside the specs whether you want it to contain or to be equal. Okay. And inside parent, what does the parent do? Parent is another component. So being a component, you have the part with TypeScript, the specs, you have the CSS, as well as you have the part with the HTML. Okay, where the part with HTML, you have it with this parent works, and it takes the app child. So you can have another component and you can include it. This is another option, and saying that the child works, for example. So let's see. In fact, inside my component, what I have is a title. Maybe I also have an array of numbers, such that for my component, I do have my constructor. I have inside the on init the function testing, which is called. And inside testing, what I need to do is to go through each and every element of my array. And for it, I want to see whether I can divide it by 2. And whether I can divide it by 2, in fact, inside my array red, I can add the current element, which was divided by 2. And in the end, I can also see it in a console. Okay, so this is your console, exactly what red returned. And even it can return the result. So here, when I have the test, what I will do, I can check the parent, whether all the components got compiled successfully. But what I can do is to have exactly the parent component. So you will have to create it. And then for it, it is like an instance of the parent component. So for it, I will call the testing. And I want, so this is exactly the method testing inside my parent component. And for my parent component, I want to see whether or not the result is equal to what it retrieved. And here it says that it's okay, so it didn't fail. But if I delete a part of the result, so not being the one as in the console, then it will say that in fact, it wants this length to be equal to 5 and not to 4. Okay, so the dimension of it is not all right. And you also need to edit. So you have the 0 at the end that you should add. And in this way, okay, you have all the elements and it doesn't crash anymore. Okay. So this is how you can do your unit testing. Okay. Okay. This is just how you can test one by one. Right. Having also the index. Index is linked to app index root, which will simply load each and every part from here. So as you can see, you have the logo. Okay. You have each and every element from H2, these ones, as well as your links, and they will open in a new tab. So if I click on the, let's see. This is the part with the unit testing. I can share it here. As well as, and this is the one that you've seen before, with the components from Material.UI. Right, as well as the one with the directive. Okay, directive is here. Directive. Let's see. Okay, when you are having the DOM and you are interacting with each and every module. So what I propose to you now is based on what you did yesterday with your OOP part. You can have a class, or you can pick up a class which you define. And in a similar manner, you can create an in-memory data service. So you will add for an ID, you will have all your details. So based on the attributes, maybe you have multiple attributes, as well as you can do like here to have the dashboard for your class. Then you can do the search. And what you can also add is a certain directive. So to have those events when the mouse left, when the mouse entered. And you can also think of one testing, so unit testing. Just to apply what you've seen. Also using this in-memory data service. Is it clear?
The same teams as yesterday, or
we can check again, and it will do the teams automatically. So they
okay.
will be randomly assigned. So as you can see.
Okay. I think it will be okay for us to be on the same team, so we don't lose time.
Okay.
Actually,
Yeah.
the project wasn't that big, so you can do whatever.
No. Yeah. So it's
Okay.
better maybe to change the group teams. I mean, the members of the team, just to change a bit, to interact between you. Okay. So you can come back, let's say after 40 minutes or like this, you modify a bit and you do some brainstorming between you. All right?